Let's do it.
Yeah. Father, thank you for this time that you've given us. Thank you for the second. And thank you for the patience that we had to deal with this app. I pray as we go forward and as we're able to read that the Bluetooths work fine and that everybody is able to understand what we're reading and able to hear. And I pray that the explanations be on point and that they don't add something that's not related, but they do confirm the things that are involved. We pray for understanding, clarity, and with that understanding and clarity, wisdom. In your son's holy and precious name, Jesus Christ Yeshua. Amen.
Amen.
Now,
Amen.
before you
So,
start, Thomas, are you going to want to read today?
Yeah, but let me start because I got a little downtime right now.
All right. So, Charles, go ahead and do the summary, and then Thomas, you could read first.
all right, cool. So we in our last study we talked about the children of Israel fighting amongst each other, mostly just 11 tribes versus the tribe of Benjamin. And these 11 tribes are coming after Benjamin after what two men of they were in the area that Benjamin controls, specifically out of Gibeah. Gibeah, we'll say Gibeah, specifically out of Gibeah. Two dudes. Oh yeah, just in case a 5-year-old listens, they intimately assaulted a woman that was already, that
Abuse
belonged
would be
to
better. Child's not going to
abused,
understand a song.
intimately abused a woman. Two guys did this. This woman already had belonged to a Levite.
Two guys?
Um, Two men. I'm sorry, two men.
Did it say just two men?
Oh, let me go back. Because one it did. No, it didn't even give a number.
Exactly.
Take that back. Didn't give a number. So some
Now, why
men.
did you think
Since
there
it
was
did.
two men?
Oh, I'm trying to figure out where I got the number from. I'm gonna have to come back to that question, but I'm gonna finish the summary. I don't want to
All
lose
right.
focus on the summary. But some men had intimately abused this woman that already belonged to the Levite. The Levite already, we already went through that situation, and the Levite exposing it, and the Levite cutting her body in pieces and laying shipping those pieces, as we would say, shipping them out to the other tribes of the children of Israel. And this is what this all back and forth is going for. Um, and so far, the children of Israel losing. They've gone 2 days straight of losing against the children of Benjamin. They keep asking the Lord, "What do we do next?" The Lord tells them to keep going. They keep losing. So that's where we're at now. We're after day 2 of them losing. Oh, and I need to bring this up too. Separate from my summary, it brought up a particular group of men that have very, Matt's gonna laugh at this, a very particular set of skills. These guys are
Oh
like
my
snipers
goodness.
these guys are like snipers when it comes to like slinging rocks, throwing they have a very accurate, very, very accurate, like snipers. It went out of this way to bring it up. So there's a possibility that we're gonna end up talking about it. If there isn't, okay, but if there is, hey, I brought it up anyway.
Good. All right, go ahead, Thomas, in verse
All right, guys.
26
Can you hear me?
to 30. Yes.
All right, give me 1 second. Let me pull over the comps right behind me. Give me like 2 seconds.
He wants to join the Bible study.
I'll try to get away from this guy because my tags are expired.
Oh my
Hold
goodness.
on 1 second. I'm about to reach. Give me 1 second. Let me just get out of this guy. Ice. Another way.
Oh, remember, you don't want to be driving and reading.
No, I'm not about to pull over. Bear with me. Set 26.
Yes.
Yes, 26-30. And try
All
speaking a little closer to the mic. You sound far away from your phone.
right. Probably gonna come up on Bluetooth then. Sorry for the hold up, guys.
That's fine.
Um,
In the meantime, while you're getting situated, what I was gonna say about this place, Charles, is disgusting.
You said barbecue spot. Is it in the TA, the big TA?
No, no, it's its own things. It's Harris
Oh,
Ranch. Big
yeah,
old
yeah, yeah.
green
No.
letters.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've been there. Okay, no, I've been there. Their sauce is bad. The food is bad. They have their own truck parking on the side, separate from the regular parking. I think it's next to another is it a hotel it's next to, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, it's their inn and everything. Oh my goodness, I've never had such bad pulled pork.
are you guys ready?
We're
Yeah,
ready.
Then all the Israelites went up to Bethel and wept in the presence of the Lord and fasted until evening. They
you're in
also
the wrong
brought,
type
oh my bad. Every single time, I don't know why it reverts back to NLT.
because it goes to whatever you normally open it with.
Oh, okay, okay.
Over time, that'll change.
I'm glad you
And all
brought
the
that up. I was wondering why it sounded weird.
and all the children of Israel and all the people went up and came unto the house of God and wept and sat there before the Lord and fasted that day until the even and offered burnt offerings and peace offerings before the Lord. And the children of Israel in the court of the Lord for the ark of the
Inquire,
covenant. Sorry about that. Inquired of the Lord. For the ark of the covenant of God was there in those days. And what's that?
Phineas.
Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron, stood before it in those days, saying, "Shall I yet again go out to battle against the children of Benjamin, my brother, or shall I cease?" And the Lord said, "Go up, for tomorrow I will deliver them into thine hands." Give me 1 second, guys. I was at a red light. I was trying to read as much as I can. I'm about to pull over officially. Thine hands. And Israel set layers in weight
Liars.
round of its layers.
That's liars. Lier. Like lying down. That's just how it's spelt back then.
Oh, really? Okay. And Israel set liars in wait round about Gibeah. And the children of Israel went up against the children of Benjamin on the third day, and put themselves in array against Gibeah. As at other times, the children of Benjamin went out against the people, and were drawn away from the city, and they began to smite of the people, and kill, as at other times in the highways, of which one goeth up to the house of God, and the others to Gibeah, to Gibeah in the field, about 30 men of Israel. And the children of Benjamin
You're
said,
good. You're good.
Remember,
no,
you're
I
only
think it should
supposed to
continue
go
to
to
go.
30.
But I feel like more is needed to be said, bro.
No, no.
You don't think so?
Remember, five per person. This is so that we don't
Okay,
overread. Because the problem with reading too much is it blends together and you lose sight of things, details, important details.
makes sense.
We do 5 verses so that way we pause, we make sure we get the context so nothing slips by. And
Right.
so that it's not so much at once that we forget what we read. I may forget the number because I'm not good with remembering numbers,
Yeah.
but I won't forget what was actually read at the time because we take it short and sweet.
Okay. So my explanation. So the Israelites went back to the Lord, asking, "Okay, so we try to go at it again, or should we cease? Because we've got our buckets for the last 2 days." And the Lord tells him, "Go ahead, because the victory is going to be in thy hands." Long story short, so they shoot, and it seems like here that they were still getting their butt kicks head on, but they decided to strategize in a sense. And Yeah, that's all I have at the moment.
Okay, good. Yep, because they set themselves up in array. In
Yeah.
other words, they put themselves out there all think like a bunch of men standing together like on Braveheart.
Yeah,
They're
yeah, yeah.
all
Okay.
standing out there in a line. Yeah. All right. Now.
Was that cool though? You need more from the explanation
Yeah.
or
No, that was
good? All
good.
right. All right, for sure.
We don't know if it's going to be successful or not from up to verse 30.
Right.
It's not till we get to 31 that we see what's actually going on in the next section.
Right, right.
Now, I would like to ask you how many different parts of context, including small forms of change, were there in your section?
So, new day. Uh,
Oh, no,
oh,
no,
the
I
second
didn't
death.
mean like the 5 Ws. I meant how many times did something in context change in the 5 verses you read?
I can't really look at it right now because I am driving. But I want to go ahead. I just want to get my read out the way. I was going to listen to the rest of the time. Okay, go ahead, bro.
All right. Charles, I'll give you the chance.
Um, I got two. The children of Israel and the Lord. I put them on one branch, and then what the children of Israel are doing, the action after dealing with the Lord. I got that on a separate branch, so I got two.
Okay, so 2 times that the context changes.
Yeah, I got from 26 to 28, and then I got 29 and 30 are separate.
All right, well, let's break it down. In 26, what's going on in 26? The children of
There.
Israel, they're crying out.
Right.
They're
Right.
freaking out. Like, I thought God told us to go take care of this, and then it failed. It failed. And so they decide, well, we're going to fast and we're going to offer burnt offerings and peace offerings to God. So now they're setting it up. And then in verse 27, the children inquired of God. So they asked of God. And the way we got parentheses, we got a switch and change of context right there. So we gone from the first part where they're seeking God to find out what's happening. We were doing what you asked of us and we still failed. What's happening? But the reason that it's a change of context is because the parentheses for the Ark of the Covenant of God was there in those days. So what does that mean, Charles?
Other than what you just said, it's one of those random details that just decided they put it in there for a reason. There's a possibility we're going to get to why they brought this up.
Exactly. It went out of its way to tell you that the reason that they sought after God for the question and everything and burnt offerings was because the Ark of the Covenant was with them. So we have 2 parts of context there. One is them seeking God, and then 2 is the reasoning why they're still trying to seek God and how they're trying to go about it. Then after that, we get back into the regular part in verse 28. And in verse 28, we're still dealing with that parentheses all the way to halfway through, right? And to the point where it says stood before it in those days. Now, after the parentheses, it continues from the original portion, so that's still the first context, even though it's split apart. So in 28 continues that first context because of that added detail to go through. And so it says what they asked of God. So we have the preparation for the asking, we have the reason behind the asking, and then we have the actual asking.
Would you do the same
Now,
branch but two different leaves with
yes.
26, 27, 28? Because that's how I was thinking about it. But
Yep,
I didn't talk about the Ark of the Covenant, but that's how I was thinking about it in my head.
exactly. Because it's technically part of the same branch. It's still part of the same
Yes.
section of them trying to ask God what's going on. But remember, when I said in the question, I said including small changes.
Yeah.
So including
I didn't
small
include the
changes,
leaves.
they include the leaves. Including small changes, we have 3 parts for that through to verse 28. But then we have another part in 28 where we have God responding. That's the 4th change in context. Now we have a different speaker. Now God is telling them in response for this to go up there. Then in 29, we have a 5th change. What's the change in 29 and the 5th change, Thomas?
Okay, how's it going? Picking up? Yeah, yeah. Repeating? Yeah.
Oh, he's busy. Charles, what's the 5th change in 29?
Oh, Israel setting up people that lie in wait, that are gonna well, I just said it. They're gonna lie in wait, hide, and I'll say hide and wait, so 5-year-olds can understand. Around Gibeah, so
It'd be
that
better
would
if you
be
said set up a trap,
set up a trap. Okay, set
try to
up a
trick them.
trap. Yeah, set up a trap around Gibeah, but that would be a separate branch because that's now we're in the action.
Exactly. So now we're in the following. So that's the 5th change in context. Then in verse 30, is that a change in context?
Yeah, because now we're on a whole new day. We technically we didn't change the day until verse 30.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Exactly. So we got a time change. And if you look at it, they had the people lying in wait, right?
Yep.
But then in verse 30, it says, and the children of Israel went up against the children of Benjamin on the 3rd day and put themselves in array against Gibeah. So it's not the children of and the children of Benjamin on the 3rd day and the children of Israel. So we're not talking about the children of Benjamin set themselves in array. The children of Israel did. But we just read
The
about
rest
them
of them.
having liars in wait. So what actually happened is we have 2 different groups of people of the children of Israel. Did you see that?
Which would make sense because we talked about I brought it up in the summary. We got 11 tribes versus 1. And
Exactly.
they're losing.
So they got some tribes who are lying in wait, some tribes who are setting up the trap. Some people are the tribes that are setting up the trap. And then they had a whole bunch of other people from the tribes standing all in front of and view and everything. So that's the 6th change of context. Now we have because it's not the same people lying in the wait as it is the people setting up an array in a line, visibility. Then going into 30, we see that that's the end of 30. And then now, so in that section, that very first section, if you include the small changes, we actually had 6 or 7 different changes of context in that just 5 verses. Now, when you first read this, Thomas, did you notice that there was 2 groups of Israel, one that was lying in wait, and it was a whole separate group of Israel that was arrayed?
Initially, when I first read it, no, I did not. But as in reading progressively on, yeah.
This is exactly why we only do the 5 verses.
Right.
Because since we know 5 verses is the end of it, we're more focused on the details in it and able to see that. So over time, it'll get easier to notice things. But if we just read on, even for that one section, it started to blend together, right? See, this is where people will say, I've read the Bible 3-4 times, but then they don't know some of the basic tenets of being a basic biblical Christian. Well, how could you have read it 3-4 times and you don't know that? Because they read too much at once and never got the understanding. They only think they did because they read through. This is a perfect example with the Bible study with your friends. How many verses did they read in a row? Like 10, 15, like almost the whole chapter, right?
Yeah, they'll read the whole chapter.
And then how much of it actually stands out to you when you're listening?
Well, afterwards, we'll go over the verses.
Exactly. So when we read too much at once, we miss things. But when we take time to slow it down, we're able to grow and catch those details. All right. Now then, let me go ahead and change the background for the next section. And then I will go ahead and read the next section. All right. Verse 31. Hold on. Sorry, it was caught in the throat. So, and the children of Benjamin went out against the people and were drawn away from the city. And they began to smite people and kill, as at other times, in the highways, of which one goeth up to the house of God, and the other to Gibeah in the field, about 30 men of Israel. And the children of Benjamin said, they are smitten down before us, as at the first. But the children of Israel said, let us flee and draw them from the city into the highways. And all the men of Israel rose up out of their place and put themselves in array at Baal Tamar. And the liers in wait of Israel came forth out of their places, even out of the meadows of Gibeah. And there came against Gibeah 10,000 chosen men out of Israel. And the battle was sore, but they knew not that evil was near them. And the Lord smote Benjamin before Israel. And the children of Israel destroyed of the Benjamites that day 25,100 men. All these drew the sword. So what we see here is this strategy was, man, they're sitting here standing in array like they was like really finna fight. And in the meantime, they had people lying. They were like hiding. And so they took a couple losses. They went to go fight. And then like 30 of their men died and they started running away, the people that were in front of their face. And the whole time the tribe of Benjamin didn't know that there was people hiding, waiting to pounce like a lion trying to snatch its prey. And so when that happened and they came off of the side and they killed 25,100 of the Benjamites. Now, there's another lesson that we didn't bring up that Charles, you somewhat brought up, but I'm going to go even greater into detail because you didn't bring it up as the lesson. You brought it up as the detail in last time we read. The children of Benjamin are part of the children of Israel. There shouldn't be this fighting among the children of Israel.
Oh, I brought it up the other day. Damn, I forgot to bring it up today.
You brought up the detail when we read it, but what you didn't bring up is the lesson that goes along with it.
Yeah.
Now, Thomas, I'm going to give a chance for you first. What is the lesson that goes along with that for us today? Thomas, you're muted.
So they're fighting amongst themselves, correct? I'm stumped. I don't know, Charles.
All right, Charles, what lesson for us today can you take from that?
When we follow the Lord, when we do the things of Lord, we may have to come against our brothers and sisters, but we do what must be done, regardless of who's good, who's bad, who's this, who's that. We can't just because that, like, for example, my little brother, because of my new path and because I follow God's way and follow God's will, if me and my little brother will have if we're at odds because of this, then we are at odds. It is what it is. You can come join, or we'll just be at odds. It is what it is. I chose God. I don't choose our relationship. You see what I'm saying?
Good. You brought up both parts. Good. So it's a two-part. One, you can be family with someone. Do not allow the fact that you're family to blind you to the evil that is going on. There is a lot of experiences, we hear about them during the whole Me Too movement, and I've heard about it on personal experiences from people a lot when it comes to intimate abuse that happens among family members. And somebody who's being abused, they'll tell the people who should help them sometimes, and then they don't believe them. Because Uncle Jim or Aunt Sally would never do that. Do not allow your love for someone and the fact that your family or relatives allow you to be deceived into assuming they are not capable of something. Their behavior will tell you if they're actually capable. But if you're not paying attention to that behavior, how many times have we seen serial killers on movies and stuff? And what does everybody around them say? Charles?
He was a good boy. We never thought he could do it.
Yeah,
We
we
didn't think
never
he had
saw
it
it
in him.
coming, right? Never saw it. And every time, and correct me if I'm wrong for you too, Thomas, but every time we hear about a serial killer and how everybody's all like, oh, we never saw it coming. I take one look at the picture of the individual and I'm just wondering how. How did you not see this coming? The guy looks like a serial killer. He has a creeper vibe about him. How did you not see this coming? Have you ever seen the pictures and felt like that, Thomas?
Oh yeah, of course.
So it's not that the person doesn't seem like it. Everybody on the outside really knows, but it's the people who are involved with the person who don't really pay attention. Just like with dating and marriage, they're only enjoying company. They're not finding out who the person is, what kind of person they really are. So then later on, they're coming back and they're like, well, we never saw it coming. Or your aunt or uncle, they would never do such a thing. I went to jail and I don't hold this against her because it's what led to me being Christian and everything that's happened since. So I'm already done and over with. It's only for the sake of the example and the point proven that I'm bringing it up. I went to jail because my mother lied and told the cops that I pushed her. And I went to a jail for a false charge. And everybody around believed her because why would a mom lie about her son on something like that? They have no idea who my mom really is. They have no idea how much she cares and only cares about doing the right thing if it works out for her image. They don't know everything about who she is. But because in general speaking, no normal mom would do that to their son, they think, I must be lying and I must have put my hands on my mom. When if you knew my past, I got beat up in elementary school because I refused to hit back against a woman that was hitting me. Because I thought it was wrong for me to hit a woman. So that's the first part is don't allow your care for someone. And this is for everybody who watches this video later on too. Don't allow your care for someone, whether because they're family, friend, or boss or whatever, to deceive you into thinking they're not capable of evil when their behavior and their mannerisms are the exact opposite. And then the second part Charles brought up, which was also correct, the punishment side of it. You don't go lenient just because it's family or friend. This is one of the biggest problems in the Black community. It is worse to snitch than it is to murder. It is worse to snitch than it is to steal. How could you possibly expect things to get better if it's more important that you don't talk about somebody than it is to punish people for the wrong that they do. The wrong is celebrated. Gangbanger. Ah, that's sick. That's tight. That's awesome. Lawyer, man, you a square. Actor, what is you gay? Any positive thing, intelligent, you're speaking with proper English. What are you trying to act white? All the stuff that are good are looked down on and degraded as bad. And all the stuff that are bad, running drugs, being a gangbanger, shooting people, talking as if you live that life. All that stuff is looked at as good, as positive. So we see when you allow the care and consideration, even if it's for your own race, or if it's for your own family member, or for your own friend, or the person you're married to, or even your boss or your company. Because there are people that won't talk bad about their company because they might get fired. Oh, well, I got to think about my family. Why don't you find another job? The reason that evil is able to grow in this world is not because of its existence in at all. It's because no one wants to punish it, because the punisher will always be looked at as the bad guy, rather than the bad guy actually looking at as the bad guy. Now then, let me go ahead and change this background. Before we go to Charles's turn to read, anything you want to add, Thomas, before we go to the final section?
Nah, man, you was dropping facts. I'm listening.
All right. Charles, anything you want to add before you read that final section?
No.
All right, then go ahead in verse 36.
So the children of Benjamin saw that they were smitten, for the men of Israel gave place to the Benjamites, because they trusted unto the liers in wait, which they had set beside Gibeah. And the liers in wait hasted and rushed upon Gibeah. And the liers in wait drew themselves along and smote all the city with the edge of the sword. Now there was an appointed sign between the men of Israel and the liers in wait, that they should make a great flame with smoke rise up out of the city. And when the men of Israel retired in the battle, Benjamin began to smite and kill of the men of Israel about 30 persons. For they said, surely they are smitten down before us, as in the first battle. But when the flame began to arise up out of the city with a pillar of smoke, the Benjamites looked behind them, and behold, the flame of the city ascended up to heaven. And when the men of Israel turned again, the men of Benjamin were amazed, for they saw that evil was come upon them. I'm going to stop there. I'm going to go ahead and stop there. Because it's gonna keep going. Because now it's after 41, it's the Benjamites, the action that they're gonna go into, like after all of that, and it's just gonna keep going with what they got going on, their actions. And I don't want to, because I actually read ahead. I don't want to talk about it. We'll talk about it on the next study.
Mm-hmm.
Let me go ahead and save it as a bookmark. Give me a second. Okay, so I didn't put too much emphasis in it. I almost forgot what I read. So the children so we got the tribe of Benjamin. Now they're, they want to respond back. They think, oh, okay, the children of Israel being lazy. Okay, cool. We're gonna get a couple of them. We're gonna swiping, and we're gonna kill a couple people. Now with
Lazy?
the children, well, I wanted to use that word. Let me see. Let me think of another one. Let me think. Because I don't want to use what.
What does lazy mean, Charles?
You could do it, but you choose not to for whatever reason, for what like procrastination.
Exactly. Does that work here?
I gotta think of another word for this.
Why does that not work here?
Well, because it said retired in battle, but I gotta think of another word for retire.
Well, and think about what retired means.
Well, when I think of retirement, I think of chill out, don't work, sit around.
I'll go back into it. Go back into the context. Look at what the word means. Look up the word. See if it means the same today as it does back then.
To turn about or over, by implication, to change, overturn, return. I'm just rereading something real quick.
Not a problem.
I would have to say when the children of Benjamin started killing, when the children of Israel turned their backs, when they turned around from the battle,
Exactly.
turned their backs from the battle. Then the tribe of Benjamin
Or
started killing. They
another
only
way, you don't have to use one word if it's better to use two words or more to explain.
well, I just did use more than one word.
What would be better than saying that?
Then turn your backs. For a 5-year-old to understand, I got to think. That's as simple as I could think right now.
All right, Thomas, what's a better way to say it versus turn your backs? Actually, before I say have you answer that, Charles, what does it mean to turn your back on something?
Well, to turn your back on battle, you're in a battle and you decide to just turn the other cheek
Well, not to turn
because
the other cheek. Turn your back is to completely disavow, is to give up. If I turn my back on a friend, I gave up on the friend. But is that what they were doing here is giving up?
well, that's how I took it as retired. I mean, what else are you doing? Because if you're retired, you're not working.
Well,
You're
you
done
read
working.
well, keep in mind the rest of the context. What did you read after that?
Oh well, so I'll say there was a group of men, a different set of children of Israel's that turned their back for Benjamin to start killing. But then after
No,
that,
but
a
what
flame.
was it that you yeah, there was a
Oh, go
flame,
ahead.
there was a
But I
sign.
didn't get to that part. I didn't get to that part yet.
But this is important towards your explanation. This is why turn your back doesn't work. Turn your back a literal thing or is it a metaphor nowadays?
We could use it as both.
So, don't you have to take that into account when you're giving your explanation how people would receive the words you're explaining?
Well, yes.
So, do you understand why that's a problem to say it like that?
Um, no, because I don't know any other way to explain retired in battle.
Okay. Well, I'll give you another way to explain it, but the reason turn your back doesn't work is because it has a connotation to it. It means that they're giving up. Did the children of Israel give up at this point?
Well, and the men of this. Well, at this point, no, not really.
So exactly. So they're not giving up at this point. So turning their back doesn't mean that today, right? So do
The
you see
only
why
other
turning
way
their
I
back
could
is a problem?
the only other way I could say it is settle down.
No, no. Settled down is. Remember, we said retired was to turn away, right? What did it say in the
Exactly.
definition of retired?
Let me go back. A primitive root to turn about or over.
By implication, to change, overturn, return. So they change direction. What's another way of saying change direction when you're in a fight?
You got me, Matt. Because if I'm in a fight, if I
Running
change direction,
away,
I change.
Pivot.
But if you ran away,
escaping.
I was gonna say if you run away, then that's we would consider that today as you gave up.
Not if you have a plan and why you're running away. Giving up means you don't have anything forward, but didn't they have a plan for them running away?
Well, yeah, I didn't get to break that down.
Well, no. You you messed up from the beginning because of that. Saying turn their backs means they gave up. They weren't giving up when they ran away. So you can't say turn their backs. You have to say running away or evading or trying to
Escaping.
escape. Because just because someone's trying to escape an initial fight, does that mean they gave up?
Oh
No,
no.
this is a literal example of that. In war, it's not about every individual battle. It's about the sequence entirely. That's who wins the war. So the fact that they had people lying in wait or hiding to try to set up a trap, and they had the children of Israel running away, is that the same thing as saying giving up? No. So would it work at all to say turning backs? Not in the way we use that phrase today. So you have to say running away or evading or trying to escape them. Because that's different than saying turn your backs or giving up. You see what I'm saying?
So then I would so I'm gonna have to re-explain it as in the children of Israel ran away just to trick the tribe of Benjamin. You know, the tribe of Benjamin got a
Perfect.
couple kills off, but to trick them into the trap that they had, and part of the trap was for a flame to rise up. And when that flame rise up, then the children of Israel gonna then not only are the children of Israel gonna put in work, they're gonna start killing, but now the tribe of Benjamin have realized we've set off their trap. Now this we're
But
done
just the
now.
flame, was there anything else that led up to the flame?
um Well, I already talked about the tribe of Benjamin killing a couple people to lead into that trap. Flame began to arise up out of the city
What
with the
caused the
pillar of
flame?
smoke. Sign between the men of Israel and the liars in wait.
You got to go
That
before
they
that.
should
You read it earlier.
uh that was verse 38.
And it's before that. Come
Wait,
on,
what's
Charles.
before? What's before?
What causes the flame? You're missing a very big detail, massive detail.
The liars in wait would make the flame.
No, there's more to it
It
than that, Charles. Don't guess, reread.
I mean it says it in 38, but all right, man. But the children of Benjamin saw that they were smitten to the Benjamites. So I give you Hasted and rushed upon Gibeah. And they drew themselves along and smote all the city with the edge of the sword. What was the question again?
There was a very big detail that you left out, and I asked what caused the flame.
Let me reread because obviously it just went over my head.
Yep. That's why I wanted you to
I
reread
don't
it.
see it. I personally don't see
Give
it.
it one
'Cause
more chance and just think about everything you said in your explanation and think about what you didn't say.
Well, I didn't talk
There's
about the liars in wait destroying the city with the edge of
there
you know,
you
killing the
go.
city.
There's
But it
your
didn't
answer.
say killing the city made the flame. It just says them killing the city with the edge of the sword. And then in the next verse, there it talked about a sign between Israel and the liars in wait that they should
But look at
make
the
a great
context
flame
and
with smoke.
connection.
Well, the only reason why I couldn't
37,
answer that
and the
before is because it
liars in
didn't.
wait hasted and rushed upon Gibeah. And the liars in wait drew themselves along and smote all the city with the edge of the sword. Now there was an appointed sign between the men of Israel and the liars in wait that they should make a great flame with smoke rise up out of the city. So, in order for them to be able to make this flame of smoke, what did they have to do first? They
Oh,
had
I
to
wish you
destroy the
asked that first.
city.
Yeah, destroy the so killed. Yeah, destroy the city. Yeah.
So my question was, what led up to the flame? And then I said, okay, well, what caused the flame? Well, the liars
Yeah, I
in
wish
wait
you'd have
did.
asked that. I wish you'd have said what was the first thing they had to do first.
Because the important part that you didn't add was what? Now that you understand it.
The liars in wait coming up to the city and killing the city before the flame.
Exactly. Now, why is that important, Thomas? Check, make sure you're not on
They,
mute.
they were strategizing
But why is it important that they destroyed the city and then set the flame up?
because it was made to believe on Benjamin's behalf that they were uh, they were winning in a sense, and to distract them by the liars.
Yes and no, you're close, but not quite there. But you're like right on the edge. Charles, why is it important that they had this set up to destroy the city and set the flame up?
Why is it important that I didn't bring it up, or why is it important that
No.
they
Why
had
is
it
it
in the first place?
important that the plan was to do that? Why does that matter to the plan? How did it make
Uh,
a difference on the situation?
oh, that's what the children of Israel needed as their sign that we're going to get this trap going. You know, we set a trap and we're doing this and we're doing that. It was part of their plan.
Okay, I'm gonna rephrase the question. Why did they have that in their plan? What difference did it make in the plan?
Let me reread.
Mm-hmm. And Thomas, I'll give you another chance since I gave you the first chance and you both messed it. What difference does it make to have them set to destroy the city and set the flame up in the city for their
To lure
plan?
them to lure them away from the city, because to lead them into their trap along the highways.
Wait,
So if
how
the
does
city was
they were already
already
being
destroyed,
led.
right? But if the city was already destroyed, then why go and I don't know.
That's okay. Don't
Yeah,
try not to guess. Try rereading it and see if you can
I
figure it
can't
out.
really read Ray. I'm driving.
Oh, okay. All right, Charles, are you ready with your guess? Or your guesstimate? Estimate?
No, not even close.
All right. I'll reread the verses and then I'll see if you guys can get it from the rereading. So the children of Benjamin saw that they were smitten, for the men of Israel gave place to the Benjamites,
Gave place.
because they trusted in their liars in wait, which they had set beside Gibeah. And the liars in wait hasted and rushed upon Gibeah, and the liers in wait drew themselves along and smote all the city with the edge of the sword. Now there was an appointed sign between the men of Israel and the liers in wait, that they should make a great flame with smoke rise up out of the city. And when the men of Israel retired in the battle, Benjamin began to smite and kill the men of Israel, about 30 persons. For they said, surely they are smitten down before us, as in the first battle. But when the flame began to arise out of the city with a pillar of smoke, the Benjamites looked behind them, and behold, a flame of the city ascended up to heaven. That portion gives you the answer. So what difference did it make to have the flame?
It was a distraction.
There you go. Perfect. So the children of Israel could not defeat Benjamin straight up. They were incapable. So what did they need to do? They tried to find him at first and then begin to flee. Meanwhile, so at first, who's the first distraction, Charles?
The you mean from when we started? Oh no, not from when we started. You mean like when they took out the city?
Yeah, from their plan, for the Israelites' plan against the
Taking out the
Benjamites.
city.
Who
Yeah,
was the first distraction?
the city.
No, that's not the first distraction.
Well, I got to go way back then to where I didn't read
Kind
because they lost first
of
day,
falling
second
behind today,
day.
Charles.
I mean, so they lost
From what
first
we
day,
read
second day.
today, because we didn't have a
first
plan the first day,
distraction-
second day. The plan came in on this day. I go ahead, Thomas.
The first distraction was them fleeing, correct?
Killing on the highway.
Yes.
They drew them out of the city and killed them on the highway.
Exactly. They were sitting here on the outside of the city and they was attacking and then ran away. That's the first distraction. Now, what did that distraction allow to happen, Charles?
The tribe of Benjamin to leave the city to allow the liars in wait to go in and destroy the city, kill the city.
Exactly. The distraction of the hit and run tactic allowed them hiding to attack and destroy the city. But then after they destroy the city, there was an appointed sign for them to set a huge flame with smoke. So what did that distraction allow for them to do? Charles?
So we got the sign.
Come on,
I
we just
stopped
went
at
into it.
41. I stopped at 41, so I stopped when the flame actually came up.
Yeah, and what happens as soon as the flame happens?
Oh, the Benjamites are distracted.
Exactly. Now, what would that open the doors for?
The rest of the children of Israel to kill the Benjamites in this distraction.
Exactly. So the first distraction allowed the people hiding to go and take the city. But the Benjamites don't know that they took the city because they only know about the ones in front of them that are running away. So then after they take the city and destroy it, then they set a big old flame. And what does that flame do? That flame catches the attention of the Benjamites. That's why, what did they say in 41?
I gotta
Charles?
go back. And when the men of Israel turned again, the men of Benjamin were amazed, for they saw that evil was come upon them.
So the men were amazed because they saw that evil. So they were stuck because they saw what happened to their city. Now, if you're in the middle of war, Thomas, can you just pause and look away from your enemy?
No, sir.
Not at all. So this was a 3-step plan. And it worked out to perfection. Now, we don't know the end result yet because we'll get that tomorrow. I had to make sure if today was Friday or Saturday. We'll get that tomorrow. But we do know up until this point that it worked to perfection. So they're sitting here like, okay, we have this situation going on. Now they've destroyed the city, and now the tribe of Benjamin is completely thrown off. Now, there's one other thing in here that you left out, Charles, and it's in 41. And it's a side note, but it's an important information I taught you. I'm going to give you about 30 seconds to figure it out.
I wouldn't even know.
All right, Thomas, does God do evil? Can
No, he does not.
God do evil?
No.
So then how can the tribe of Israel do evil in God's place?
Because of the bigger picture. Something sometimes seems to happen.
It's a good guess, but not quite. Charles?
God can't sin, but well, God can't sin, but God could have evil. He's already said this in previous chapters about how he can have evil things happen to the children of Israel when they turn away from him.
So in other words, what does evil actually mean? You remember we talked about this, Charles?
We talked about wicked things, bad things. We talked about
Bad things.
yeah, wicked and
But
bad
do
things.
bad things necessarily mean sinful? No.
No.
See, this is an important point. Evil does not necessarily mean sin, because we know God does not sin. And if God sets you up to do a sin, is that not God sinning indirectly? So we know that God does not sin. So taking that into account, evil does not mean sin. It just means bad. And something can be evil for you and good for God. Just because it's evil to you doesn't mean it's evil. And you know what this also goes to show? People have different perspectives on what's good and what's bad. This is showing, even in the Bible, that the sense of right and wrong is subjective, not objective. It's only objective because God sets the standard. But if you take God out of the equation, who determines what's right and what's wrong? Everyone decides for themselves. You see what I'm saying? All right,
Yeah, I
you
see
see
what you're
that,
saying.
Thomas? Thomas?
Yeah.
Okay, did you hear what I said?
Yeah, everybody decides for themselves. It's good and bad.
Exactly. So, all right, cool. So we have the biblical example of how something can be evil in another person's eyes, while at the same time not being evil in God's eyes. And so we see an example in the Bible of how that happens. So with that being said, if we take God out of the equation today, is there any leg to stand on when people say something is right or something is wrong? Thomas?
No, because everybody's entitled to their.
Exactly. So Charles, if you take God out of the equation and having a standard of right and wrong, regardless of humans, can we say that Hitler was actually wrong for what he did?
No, if we take God out of it.
Exactly. If we take God out of the equation, can we say, Thomas, that abortion is actually evil?
Oh, because that's what that person felt.
Exactly. So when we don't have God in the equation, the right and wrong is subjective, which also means that everyone's right is right to them and everyone's wrong is wrong to them. So all that matters at that point is who has more power, because whoever has more power, they set the rules.
You gonna have this baby.
You said what?
You gonna have this baby.
Yeah, you're gonna have this. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's like you will give me an heir or you will die. Yes, master.
At that point, it's the person with the most guns that are in control.
hmm Or take into account today in transgenderism. You need to accept that a man could have periods and a man can get pregnant and a woman can have a penis. No, a woman cannot and a man cannot on the other side. It doesn't matter how you feel because your feelings are not reality. They're your feelings.
Unless it's a genetic defect and they got a fetus and a JJ.
Well, but in that case, they're hermaphrodite. And actually, every hermaphrodite, they are incapable of producing sperm because of the ovaries. So they're actually all technically female, even though they have the genitalia. Or vice versa. I can't remember which one it was, but I think it's because of the ovaries, their sperm, they don't produce the sperm that it's supposed to, or something like that. But so everyone who's supposed to hermaphrodite may have the genetic defects, but in their body and the way it works, they're still one or the other. They're not actually true hermaphrodites. There is actually no true example of hermaphrodite. So, anyways, with that being said, interesting study, a lot of stuff to talk about, a lot of stuff to discuss. Keep in mind this too, that as towards the evil or what they saw as evil, if you were thinking about it from the Benjamites' perspective, here they are, they're trying to run the land the way they want. And here the other part of the children of Israel are trying to come against them. From their perspective, you're trying to come into my house and tell me how to run it. You don't get to do that. So you can understand why, from their perspective, they think it's evil. To a liar, the truth is evil. And to the evil, goodness is evil. And evil is good. All right. Now, I'll go ahead. Wait, I pray this in. Charles, why don't you go ahead and pray us out?
All right,
But before
everybody.
you do, why do you guys mute yourselves at all? I mean, we're in separate buildings. We can't hear the background like that unless you have background noise going on.
Oh, so if I move the microphone, the headset, if I start like while you're talking, I'm reading, so you don't hear me reading. There's a lot of reasons why, so you don't hear any of the background noise I got going on. Because it's
Okay.
how are you going to teach and explain if you hear my background noise? You hear me talking, or you hear me doing something, or you hear my microphone gets rubbed on something,
Okay.
or if I sneeze and runny nose, you're gonna hear that if I don't mute it.
All right.
And sometimes, I breathe like a horse. So
Feel it. But I've never heard you say nay, so I feel like you failed. Anyways, Charles, go ahead and pray us out.
Everybody bow your heads if you can. Father, thank you for the study that we got into. Not finishing, but getting into the Benjamites and the consequence to the Benjamites. We're going to continue on to this on Saturday and separate from the study. I pray that we all have good nights going into tomorrow. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. All right, and to everybody who sees this video later on, I pray you have a blessed night and that you learned lots. Bye, y'all.